this. It's the registration for the Elmwood Royals football camp. You've always wanted to play football, and you've always wanted to be an Elmwood Royal. This is your chance. Well, Mom was a little more excited than I was, but I was excited. I got to go play football with my other friends. It was awesome. Growing up in 1977 as a 10-year-old boy, that makes me 53. I'd be out in the front yard playing football by myself, and I'd take the hike with my dad and my brothers were going off on their tractors. You know, I'd be taking the hike from the virtual center and first off, this is not a real football. My wife wouldn't let me have real football in the house, but I'm sure you understand. Anyway, I'd take a hike from virtual center and be hut one, hut two, hike, and hike the ball to myself, and then I'd hand the ball off to myself. Or if I wanted to switch it up, I would throw the ball to myself. Oddly enough, I usually scored. Friday nights, me and the youngest of 8 boys, I got to watch my older brothers play quite often on Friday nights. And Friday nights were all about football for us. You know, we got to go to the game and we got to hang out, but then we come home and we go to our bedroom, and my brother and I, we shared a bedroom. Not only that, we shared a bed. I mean, what do you expect? There were 10 of us. So on the wall of our bedroom, we had this poster of Bart Starr. It was a poster that we got out of a cereal box. Do you remember when you got things out of a cereal box? Well, so in the front yard, I'd be pretending I'd be Bart Starr, or I'd be Fran Tarkenton, or Terry Bradshaw. I mean, those were who I wanted to be someday. Do you remember who you wanted to be someday when you grew up? Well, many of you still are looking for that, but that's okay. Well, day one of football camp came, and we were working on our conditioning. So we're running. The end of the day came, and you know, I was tired, but I had a little bit of a headache. But other than that, everything was okay. So we went on to day two. Day two of camp, we were working on our blocking and tackling. So we were down in our 3-point stance, and it was hut one, hut two, hike. And we'd hike the ball. Whenever they would hike the ball, we'd get up and pop the other guy on the other side of the line. Man, it was awesome. We were getting to play football with other football players. It was so cool. Well, day two came, and the end of day two came, and we, I had a little bit of a headache. I was sore as heck, but, you know, the headache was still there. But day 3 of camp came, and I was blindsided. I have no idea what hit me. All I remember is laying on the couch, and I got up from the couch to use the restroom, and that's the last thing I remember. The next thing that I remember, I was having stitches put in my chin. My mom had carried me from hospital to hospital to hospital to try to find out what was wrong with her baby boy. There at the final hospital, they said that I had hydrocephalus. That's cephalus, not syphilis. I was 10. But it's okay. It's a common mistake. Anyway, after a few days, the doctor came in and he said, Mr. Wagner, well, what they did with hydrocephalus is they had to put a shunt in my head, and that shunt I still have until this day, but it drains the extracranial fluid from my brain to my abdomen. And then a few days later, the doctor came in and said, Mr. Wagner, how you doing? I said, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. When can you get back to football camp? I just want to get back to football camp. Mr. Wagner, I'm sorry, but your football career is over. Over? How could it be over? I haven't even started yet. Over? I didn't want it to be over. So what I did, I joined the football team as soon as I was able. I joined the football team. I was the water boy for the Signet Royals. Now they're the feeder team for the Elmwood Royals. anything to keep football in my life. But then the doctor just said to me, he said, son, you just need to go live your life. Just go live your life. So that's what I did for the next 33 years. But before that, we stopped off at Grandma's house. We stopped off at Grandma's house, and we had this chance to get together with Grandma and talk to her a little bit. And she, as I walked in the door, Grandma said, Brian, how are you? I said, oh, I'm doing fine. And then I started to lay my sob story on her about, how I wasn't able to play football and all this and that. It was a tough time for me, but she kind of saw right through it. She's like, Brian, life's not going to turn out the way you planned. So don't be afraid to reimagine your life. Just find what makes you unique and do something with it to make someone else's life better. So that's what I've been doing for the last however many years, 43 years now. So, that's what I've done. And it's been working out pretty well. I want to know in the chat box, tell me, what did you want to be? Who did you want to be when you grew up? I'm going to give you 30 seconds and we're going to come back. But take your time. I got to watch. So tell me. Okay, cool. A teacher. Awesome, awesome. Psychiatrist, NICU nurse, astronaut, a lawyer. Very cool. A rapper? Wow. Wow. Lots and lots of comments. This is awesome. Thank you so much. Huh. Nurse? More nurses? Drug kingpin. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so we got a lot of good stuff coming in, but we need to keep going. So I want to just talk a little bit about what you wanted to be when you grew up, but more than that, I want to know what sets you apart. So again, in the chat box, you don't have to do this in the chat box, but if you would, that would be great. So tell me, what do you think sets you apart? Because we all have something different. As I'm going through this speech, I encourage you all to think about what sets you apart. What makes you unique? We're all unique in our own certain way. And that's important for us all to think. So as I'm going through this, I encourage you to wander off, come back to us eventually, but think about what sets you apart. Well, fast forward to March 4th, 2011. I was, the day before, I was in an all-day training session and in Cleveland, which is about 2 hours north of me. But I came home, and I got home late that night. But it was late night, and the kids were all in bed, and my wife was even in bed. And I didn't want to wake them up, so I just laid on the couch. And I lay on the couch, and about 3 a.m., I woke up. And when you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're over 40, there's really only one place you need to go. So as I'm making my way there, I'm stumbling over stuff, and I'm hitting things. I'm like, oh, what is that? I'm like, did Connie move furniture again? I didn't know what was going on. Now, things seemed a little darker than normal. But when I arrived at the restroom, I went to turn on the light switch. Nothing seemed to happen. When I looked towards the mirror, I could see that there was light coming out of the slits in the bottom of my eyes. So the power was on. If I wanted to see anything, I had to lift my eyelid with my hand like this in order for my eyelids to go up at all. Connie heard the commotion and she came downstairs. Brian! Brian! What happened? I don't know. I don't know. I was blind. I was the most scared I've ever been in my life. find out that I was blind. As soon as we were able to, we rushed off to the emergency room. And there at the emergency room, after hours and hours waiting and hours of tests, which I know too well, the doctor came in and said, "Mr. Wagner, it appears as though one of the cavernous malformations in your brainstem is blood. We're recommending you have brain surgery." Brain surgery? They don't live on something I bring my brainstem. What's changed? Problems you have are only going to become worse and more frequent. Worse and more frequent. Worse and more frequent. Those are the words that I heard for the next 27 days. But they said there's only one. There's just one subject matter expert. There's one doctor that we recommend you go into for this type of surgery. He's in Phoenix, Arizona. Do you remember who you had? Just one person that took you from one point of your life to the next point? Maybe it was a teacher, an author. Maybe it was a coach or a friend or mentor. Maybe it was your spouse. You remember who that one was? Think about that one. We're going to come back to that in a minute. So this was my one. And I went to Phoenix to see him. I went to Phoenix, and the next day that after I had met him, I had surgery by him. And then that same afternoon, I was able to walk the hall. Now, then in the later the next day, it was at about noon the next day, I was actually discharged from the hospital after having brain surgery. So they gave me a little bottle of extra thanks Tylenol, and that was it. But I came back, and I thought everything was going to get back to normal. I thought everything was going to just return back to normal. I didn't know how, but it didn't. And I remember laying there on the kitchen floor, and I made a deal. I made a deal with God. Haven't we all done it at times? We just made a deal. Well, my deal was that if I could get through being blind, I wanted to be able to help other people. So, Brian, you're in IT sales at the time. I worked for companies like IBM and other companies like IBM. And how are you going to do that? You don't have a degree. You need to provide for your family. You need to get the kids through college. All of these questions were going on in my head. But I knew that was my deal. And I needed to do that sooner or later. That's why I'm here. Why are you here? I encourage you to think about that. Why are you here? Why are you in this job? Whether you're a direct support professional or whatever the case may be for the Illinois Association of Rehabilitation Facilities, whatever role you serve, I'm sure you serve it well. But remind yourself, always remind yourself of why you're here. Well, during this time, I had a number of encouragers in my life. And one of these encouragers was my wife, Connie. She encouraged me to go for walks. Now, I had no idea she was talking about me going down such treacherous terrain. I mean, there's ledges on the right, there's ledges on the left, and there's people coming in front and from behind. I mean, and then there's those undulations. Undulations. Isn't that a fun word? It's gotten harder to say over the last few days, but it's a really fun word. But those undulations change when you walk down that sidewalk a different way. When your perspective changes, then you begin to approach life differently. For you and your jobs, as you prepare for and take a perspective of a client or whomever you're serving at that time, whoever your person is. If you take their perspective, everything changes. It changes for the better, and it becomes so much better. So tell me, who was your biggest encourager? I'm going to give you another 30 seconds, and we'll answer that if you would. Who was your biggest encourager? Uh-oh. Let's see. Hopefully they haven't fallen asleep on me. No, you're good. Good. Friend, dad, parents, mom, grandpa, mom, Wow. Wow. Very cool. Parents, friend, hmm, hmm. Grandparents, best friend, senior advisor in college. Interesting. Okay. Wow. Lots of great stuff coming in. Sister, dad, husband. Wow. Yeah. Hmm. Ah, intellectual disabilities. Mom and sister. Huh. And there you're one, I'll bet. Grandmother and my mentor. Huh. My drug dealer, Chuck Festers. I think there's a joke in there, Josh. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for responding. I appreciate that. You know what? Another one of my encouragers was my daughter, Jess. She was 13 at the time, and she wrote me a letter. It's pretty special, and I'd like to share it with you. Dear Dad, happy Dad's Day. I hope you have a great day because you definitely deserve it. All the cars and TV commercials always say, my dad's the best. But they're all lying. You're the best ever. Sure, other people's dads are great. They're younger than you, they're sportier, and they're funner. But you've got something they don't have. Bravery. Even after everything you're going through, you still got out of bed in the morning. You still joke around. You still go out and play with us and cook on the grill, even though you only have half of one good eye. But you do more still. You teach me that even though you go through the most toughest, grueling things, if you just believe that God is right there with you through everything, believe that everything turns out okay in the end. Believe that sometimes the only thing you can do is hope beyond hope. Then maybe, just maybe, you'll make it out alive. Not always unscathed, but alive. And give me that hope, that sense of belief. Well, I take that over Dad with two good eyes any day. Love, 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 Jess. When's the last time you received a letter like that? I got a better question. When's the last time you wrote a letter like that? Guess what? You're gonna get a chance to do that today. We're gonna do it right now. Remember that one? You can use that one, or if you can think of someone else to write that letter to. I want you to remember what Jess said. You don't have to take Jess's, format, but she told me to stop comparing myself to other people. Sure, other people's dads are great. They're younger than you, sportier, and they're funner. But remember, she said, you got something that they don't have. Bravery. So tell them what they have. What do they have that means something to you? And then she also told me about my faith, how I needed to stay with my faith, and it was my thing that endeared me to her. But the fact that I was just her dad, she just wanted to be her dad. So remember what that person is to you. We're going to take 3 minutes right now, and we're going to write. We're going to write that letter, and hopefully you can send it. Time starts now. Got 2 more minutes. We have 1 more minute. Ah, awesome, 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 awesome. I'm so glad you wrote the letter. It, it's going to change that person's life that you're sending that note to. And that's awesome. But what's more than that, it's going to change your life forever because you're going to become an encourager. You're going to become an encourager for encouragers, and it's going to take off. You're going to change the world one person at a time. That's how we do it. We change the world one person at a time. And having that self-awareness, that overarching just knowledge of what you're doing in the world. I mean, that is awesome. That is so awesome. Well, that's great. But I'll tell you, there's actually a self-awareness tool that I was told about a few years ago. And it's a tool that was created in 1955 by 2 British psychologists. Their names happen to have been Joe and Harry. Now, some might pronounce this the Johari window. And it is pronounced the Johari window. But thank goodness Harry didn't get top billing, because that would have been weird. The tool, like I said, created in 1955 by these 2 British psychologists, was all about helping people to understand their own self in the world, and where they viewed themselves and where other people viewed them. So, and they looked at certain characteristics. Now, these characteristics could be summed up, and these are just an example of some. There's a lot more to it than this, but let me ask you, just take a quick glance at this list. Is there one characteristic that stands out to you? Tell me about it in the chat box. If there's one characteristic that stands out to you. I'll give you a few seconds, and then we're going to keep going. Empathetic. Okay. Patient. Awesome. Thank you. Oh, very nice. They're coming in. Energetic. Loving. Very cool. So now, what we do is we take this list and we look at where these characteristics fit in this graph. And the graph is, like it says on the left, things that are unknown to others, and things that are known to others. And then things that are known to you, and things that are unknown to you. Now, in the upper left-hand quadrant, you have things that are unknown to you, and things that are known to others. So, if you're going to the bathroom and you're coming back and you've got a little bit of toilet paper hanging off your heel, that may be something that's known to others, but not known to you. So if you can understand that's there, then you're going to be able to get the toilet paper off your heel and understand that is a blind spot. So in the bottom left-hand quadrant, you have things that are unknown to you and unknown to others. So this may be, you maybe just graduated from high school and you're not really sure what you're passionate about. You're not sure what you're good at, and neither is somebody else. So you have to go through a trial and error period of where you're going to get to where you actually know what you're passionate about. And then in the lower right-hand quadrant, we have things that are known to you, but not known to others. That, for example, could be you're a CPA or you have a degree in accounting. And it would be nice if the rest of your team knew that you had this degree in accounting. Not that you want to use it, but at least give them the knowledge of this is what's going on in your life. It also would help them to understand your motives, or maybe your motives aren't all known. Maybe your incentives aren't all known. But it might be helpful to let your team know some of these things that are going on. And then the upper right-hand quadrant, where you have things that are known to you and things that are known to others. That is your peak presence area. That is where you are the most awesome. And what we do is we put this in our professional files, and it allows you to be able to show how your peak presence area expands and contracts. So one way that it can expand to the left is if you had feedback. Now, feedback is an important part of this. You would need to understand that feedback is it's better when asked for, and then it's better when it's received in such a giving way. I shouldn't say that. It's better when it's received in the way of it's a gift. And what do you say when you receive the gift? Thank you. So that's the same way you should receive feedback, the ones you've asked for. And then vulnerability, being more vulnerable with your team means just that, letting them in to know a few more things about you and things that are going on in your personal life that may help them to understand your situation at work. So how do you be awesome? How do you make that peak presence area bigger? Just know yourself. That's the first thing, and then build on your strengths. If you can build on your strengths, then you're going to be able to, in these 360 reviews, we always talk about, this is something that he does really well, and this is something he does really well. But then there's this spot in the middle where he needs to work on this, he or she. Well, what if we changed that? What if we avoided that, what we needed to work on, and we just focused on our strengths and build on our strengths? Wouldn't that be so much better? And then have someone else from our team fill in that spot. Maybe it's the guy with a degree in accounting, and who knows? But then talk nicely to yourself. There's too many people that say, man, I'm just so stupid. I can't believe I'm so dumb I did that. Stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. And talk nice to yourself, because you're your best friend. Understand that and go forward. How else do you be awesome? Well, share your awesomeness with other people. That is how you're the most awesome. It's doing what I do. I feel like I'm kind of awesome. And I'm awesome because I'm sharing a message with you. But you're awesome too. You have something awesome about you. And now you need to go and share it with other people. Share it with your people you're serving. Share it with other people in your office. People share it with anyone you can think of. Just share your awesomeness with other people, and that's going to make you more awesome. So tell me, who here is ready to go share your awesomeness with the world? You can put it in the chat box. We're going to keep going, but put it in the chat box if you want to. Heck yeah! Here comes Jennifer, right? Nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. Very cool. Well, I appreciate that. Let's take us back a little bit. So we're going to go back to where we have blind spots. We talked about blind spots already and how there are things that other people see that you don't. When I'm in a car, I have, if there's a passenger in the passenger seat, I have an agreement with that passenger that they're going to see my blind spot. So over my right shoulder, I don't see that very well because I don't have an eye. I have an eye, but it's not open. So over my right shoulder, they see that and they can help me with, there's a car in that lane or there's someone else there. So they help me to see my blind spot. Who do you have that sees your blind spot? Now, a lot of people will say it's my wife or it's my husband, my spouse, whatever. But understand that you need to have someone that sees your blind spot every day, every week, every month. And those people are going to be truth tellers. They're going to help you to understand that you you have a blind spot. Now, there's also leaders. Then leaders, you think leaders don't have blind spots? Leaders have blind spots all over the place. One of the blind spots for leaders is going alone. You know, they always think that sometimes, not always, but they think that, you know, they know how to do this, so they don't need any help. You know, I don't need to include anyone. I don't need to burden anyone with more time. You know, I don't need to have this done. But going alone could be, or not going alone, could be so much more helpful to other people. Not only that you get different ideas put into play, but you also bring someone along as maybe a junior that can take the project on in the future. That's a blind spot. Lacking appreciation. Lots of managers tell me that, well, I pay my employees. That's how I appreciate them. That is crazy. That is table stakes. That is not how you show someone appreciation. You show someone appreciation by saying please and thank you and you're welcome. And who knows what you can say. There's a lot that you can do. Show that appreciation. So that is definitely a blind spot. And then not being teachable. You know, those managers that sometimes feel as though, you know, I don't need help with this. I know how to do that. I got it. I know. So that not being teachable is definitely a blind spot, because you don't realize that being teachable, that we always have something. We all have something to learn. Even me, even Josh, even Maddie or Maggie. There's always someone there that can learn something. And I'm sure they all understand this as well. And not showing consideration, not being considerate of others. You know, scheduling a meeting at 4:30 when you know that they have a dentist appointment or a kid's ball game at 5:30. Just being considerate makes a world of difference. So not showing consideration is a blind spot. I learned a lot about all of this from my mentor, and my mentor really helped me to understand that there was a lot more to life than what I thought, and he helped me to start my own company. My company is the Radical Vision, and a radical vision is all about helping people to embrace their own personal blindness to achieve a greater vision for their lives. Now, when I say blindness, you may think negative things, but I'm telling you that there's a lot of blindness in the world that is positive. There's so much positive things going on in the world, and people don't realize the positive impact that they're having. One of these people that had a positive impact on me was a guy who helped me with my name. You know, it was my friend. I was still in IT sales at the time, and a friend of mine, actually an engineer. So in IT sales, you have a sales guy like me, and then you have an engineer, smart guy. And the smart guy went with me into one of these accounts. And we walked up to the guard shack, and I told the lady my name and who I was there to see. And she said, okay. So she bent down to fill out my name tag. And she said, Brian, how do you spell that? She didn't even look up. She said, Brian, how do you spell that? I said, that's Brian with one eye. Now, I didn't really think it was that funny, but smart guy here, I thought he was going to pee his pants. So coming home from this, I started to decide. I mean, it kind of made me aware that that's who I am. I'm Brian with one eye. So who are you? Have you changed roles? Have you, taken on more responsibility? Have you done things you've never done before? And you need to accept that you are a new person because of that. So that's who you are. That's who you need to be, accepting who you are. Now, I told you about my encouragers. This is my family. There are a whole group of encouragers. But, my wife there, Connie, and then my kids are Jess, Grant, and Colin. Colin's the youngest. But we get together every year, like most families do, and we get these pictures taken. And I said, this is a couple years after my surgery, and I said, I'm the only one winking in this picture. I said, next year, can we take a picture where we're all winking? They said, sure, Dad. Sure. So next year, we got together and they took the picture winking. I absolutely love it. They got together with me and they joined me. They didn't make me single down anymore. So there's a whole bunch of Wagners that are winking. And this has become a thing now. It's called Winking with Wagner, where if we were together at a conference like this one, except not virtual, and we were meeting with each other and talking, we would have such a good time because I would be going around and I would take pictures of me winking, which I always do, but you would wink with me. And when you wink with me, I would encourage you to think, if this guy next to me, me, knows what makes him unique. And by the way, what makes me unique is not my eye. What makes me unique is my positive personality and how I'm able to share my story with other people in order to have a huge impact on their life. But this guy next to me knows what makes him unique, and it's not his eye. I wonder what makes me unique. That makes all the difference in the world, because people are beginning to understand that it's important to know what makes you unique. So I've taken these pictures all over where I've been winking with people. This is one of the first ones. And then, my mom, even my mom I didn't ask her to, but I took her to Blizzard one day and my sister was there taking pictures. And I said, "Do you take a picture of me and Mom?" And so she did. And I looked at the picture afterwards and I'm like, "Mom, what are you doing?" She said, "I'm winking." I thought that's what everyone did. Too funny. But I love that she did that with me. So tell me, what makes you unique? You've had quite a while now to think about it. You've drifted off. Now I want you to come back to me and let me know what makes you unique. Now I'm asking you to put it in the chat box. And I'll give you 30 seconds, and then we'll come back. And if you don't know, just say, "I don't know yet." Yet. I'm really awkward to strangers. Quick humor, sense of humor. No. Wow. Hey, so a lot of people know what makes them unique, but there's probably a lot of people that don't know. And that's okay. If you don't know what makes you unique, it's okay. You can get to that point where you begin to understand what makes you unique. Very nice. Well, thank you all for sharing. I do appreciate it. You're stubborn, that makes you unique. Okay. Well, so now with COVID, we can't be together in person. So I have this new thing. It's called Winking Without Wagner. And I encourage people all over to understand how important it is to know what makes them unique, to know what sets them apart, to know what makes them different, because they can use that difference to serve someone else. So I have reached out to a few people here with the board of the Illinois Association of Rehabilitation Facilities. That's a mouthful. And they have even winked with me. So they begin to understand what makes them unique. Even Gus has gotten to understand what makes him unique. Now, Gus sounds like he's close to retirement, but you never know. You never know. And then there's Charlotte. And Charlotte knows what makes her unique. So I appreciate all of these people that have graced me with their time and their presence to be able to understand what makes them unique and to wink. Because winking is one of those things, it's a big, big deal. Now, we have about 15 minutes left, and as I talk about wink, there is this part of the wink workbook. So you all don't have a wink workbook yet. I know you don't, because I haven't sent you the link, but I'm going to ask for Maggie to put in the comments, and there she did, in the chat box, the wink workbook. So if you would download that, I would appreciate it, and then we can talk a little bit more about the wink workbook. Now I'm going to take a drink of water, and then we'll keep going. I'm going to take another 30 seconds for you all to grab it. Okay, so the W.I.N.K workbook, it's really almost more of a journal than anything, but in the workbook, it helps you to understand the W. The W stands for why. Why is it important to know what makes you unique? And what are you trying to do with it? So for me, I know what makes me unique. And my unique is my positive personality. My uniqueness is my positive personality. But understanding that uniqueness is so important. I know I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose my positive personality. And one of the things that makes me lose my positive personality is watching the morning news. So I have to stay away from the morning news. Monday through Friday, I'll watch it on Saturday and Sunday, but usually it's because I like ESPN. But Monday through Friday, I stay away from the morning news because I know it's going to cause me to be distracted, to go away from what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's the I. The I is for intentionality. The I is for intentionality. And the I is understanding that I need to be intentional. And I need to know what gets in the way of me knowing or me achieving my positive personality. So I wrote those things down. Here are some examples of what I have that have caused me to be distracted from my positive personality. It's all of the things that are going on in the outside world. So for you, I would encourage you to do that as well. So know what makes you unique, or maybe it's you want to lose weight. Maybe you want to get healthier. Maybe you want to have a better relationship with your children. Maybe you want to have a better relationship with your spouse. Well, that's your why. And then the I is then for the intentionality. What gets in the way? Is it games? Is it electronics? Is it whatever it is? Understand that and write it down. So write down what you're going for and why it's important, and then write down the intentional, what you need to be intentional with, and what gets in the way. In the end is for a new way of thinking, a new way of looking at life. For me, I started to begin to have this situation where I had an office, and it was about 100 square foot. It was actually on the other side of this wall right here, and I was looking around, I was walking around, trying to measure different things and see how far I could, move this and move that. And Connie, my wife, she looks at me and she says, "What are you doing?" Like I need to have said to me sometimes. And I said, "Well, I'm looking around and I want to move my office. I want to get a bigger space." And she said, "Well, why don't you just move it?" Because I wanted to move upstairs. That was one of my options. She said, "Why don't you just move into the other side of the basement? And it's a space where the kids used to be, and our kids are grown and out of the house now." But I said, "Well, that's a great idea. I never thought of that." So my wife, God bless her, she had this great idea, and she gave me a new way of thinking, a new way of looking at life. Now, understand, we can all have that. We can all be able to understand there's a new way of looking at life. And if we include other people in our story, in our message, in our job, in our work, no matter what, we'll begin to understand that there is so much more that we can take advantage of. And then the K is for kinesthetic. Kinesthetic. Without kinesthetic, without doing something, without taking action and writing that stuff down, we're not going to change. We're not going to change because we won't be able to get to the win, the W-I-N, without the K. So I encourage you all to W.I.N.K with me. Now, we have about 10 minutes left, but I want to ask you if there are any questions that anyone wants to ask me, and then in another two or 3 minutes, we'll get started with the remaining final story. So, are there questions you have burning that you'd like to ask? Please ask away, and if I don't see any in a couple minutes, that's okay. We'll just keep going. Oh, you know what? While we're doing this, Maggie, if you would put that link to my YouTube video, my YouTube videos, I have a show that I do daily. It's called, thank you, Maggie. It's called Vision Alignment. And typically I have guests on, but sometimes I just talk myself for about a half an hour and talk about, what it is that is going on in the world today. Maybe sometimes it's just what's going on with me, because there's been a lot going on with me here lately. But if you would, please go to that link and subscribe. That would be really appreciative. You don't have to. There's no cost to it, I promise. But if that would be something that you would do, I would appreciate it, because then that builds my subscribers. That allows me to do more things on YouTube. It's kind of a whole big thing. So anyway, enough about that. So I don't see any questions, and we've got a little bit more time. After everything you've been through, you're still a football fan. Yes, I'm still a football fan. And I'm not going to tell you who my team is, because my team might make you hate me. But yes, I still love football. I love watching football. I can't play football very much anymore because I'm old, for one. But I'm also the moving ball. I don't really do very well with moving objects, so that's part of my vision problem. So anyway, let's see. Anything else here? I think that is it. So one of the things in my I also work at the Ohio School for the Blind, and the Ohio School for the Blind has many activities, but the one activity that I'm responsible for, it's the after school program. And in the after school program, I teach. I don't teach. I am not a teacher. I said I teach. I should not have said that. I help to organize teachers that will come in and they'll teach different clubs. So we have a fitness club, we have a cooking club, we have a well, my favorite club of all, we have the yoga club. That's not my favorite. My favorite club of all is the knitting club. So in the knitting club, we teach kids how to knit. And that is visually impaired kids how to knit, no less. That is, without a doubt, the best club that I can think of being in. Because we're teaching visually impaired kids how to knit, for one. But I'll tell you that is really one of the most important things to do, is to allow those students, and they have no disabilities. They don't perceive disabilities. They don't have that recognition in their head. So I'm just amazed at how much they can do without what I typically would consider full faculties. And it's just amazing, because they're just so patient, and they're so kind and so persevering. I mean, it's just amazing. Anyway, so first night at the knitting club, we went to JOHARI fabrics. Now, who here has been to JOHARI's? Of course. I'm assuming many of you have. I'm assuming that there are many of you. There are JOHARI fabrics near you, but I don't know if I've ever been there before. So we got there, and we had 10 of us. We came in 2 buses, and we got there, and we were in the front right corner of the store. And of course, the knitting supplies were in the back left corner of the store. So we had to weave our way to the knitting supplies. So if I could hear you right now, you would all be laughing hysterically, because that was the most funny joke. In the knitting club, we'd have to weave our way. Anyway, so we had this issue. Imagine you're one of the students, and you are probably the most sighted one of all, and you have to lead the group because you have the best sight. You know, your leaders aren't going to lead you. The teachers aren't going to lead you, so it's going to be the leader of the group, and you're the most sighted one. So you have to knock, and you're bound to go back and forth. You kind of make your way finally there to the knitting supplies, but then once you get there, you wanted to make sure you had a certain color of yarn. Why did it matter? Well, it mattered because you wanted to knit a scarf for your mom, and your mom's favorite color is blue. That's why it mattered, even though you couldn't see what the color was. Well, we got the nurses, the leaders of the club, the teachers. They wanted to make sure we had the thickest yarn possible. They wanted to make sure we had the biggest needles we could, and this modified loom for the students. And so we got all that. Everything was taken care of. We got it all paid for. Got checked out. We had to go back and wait for another week because many of these students live on the campus at the School for the Blind. So we got back to the campus. We got everything taken care of, and then we went and had another week before the next club meeting of the knitting club. And I walked into the knitting club, and the kids were already there because they were so excited, you know, to get started. And I walked in, there's this old lobby to the School for the Blind. It had plush leather, brown couches. It had a big a big piano in the middle, and then multiple folding chairs scattered around. So the kids were the students were all laying in different positions, not laying, sitting in different positions, working on their stuff. Well, my friend, the guy that was you know, leading the club there that first night, he was, you know, sitting there, and again, he has the best out of all of them, but he was still struggling. He's like, man, I don't know if I can do this. So he was trying to get it done, and the teacher looked at me and she said, hey, could you go up, friend? I said, sure. So I sat down, friend, and I said, well, friend, tell me what you're doing. So he told me, but then the instructor came over and she said, well, what you want to do is you want to take this modified loom and you want to cast on. So we had already cast it on. That's a big knitting term for me. like I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, you cast it on, and what you have to do is you have to take a hook, and there's a groove in each one of these pegs. So you have to take the hook and hook the bottom of the yarn and take it over the top of the top yarn and take it over the top of the peg, and then once you've done that, you've made a loop. So that's what the instructor told me. And so, as you can imagine, I'm trying to help him without doing it. You ever had that situation where, you know, it would be just easier if you did it for yourself, and you know, but that really wouldn't justify the whole experience, would it? He wouldn't be making a scarf for his mom. Well, anyway, so we got there, we got him over top of the peg, and finally he did it. I said, friend, you did it. You made a loop. You made a loopy. He said, I did it? I did it. I made a loopy. Loopy. I made a loopy. Just then, someone over here heard him say it. And they say, loopy. He made a loopy. Loopy. And then over here, they heard, loopy. 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 And then the entire room was filled with loopy. 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 Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. Not only had he knitted a feeling of success for himself, but it also knitted a feeling of success for the entire students, all the students that were there. Brought back my grandma's words. She said, don't be afraid to reimagine your life, because life is not going to turn out the way you plan. Find what makes you unique and do something with it to make someone else's life better. Well, as a speaker, I always look at life as, I look at different things as metaphorically. So that yarn of his life was 18 years long. That yarn really represents his life. And then the needles or the looms, they kind of represent different events that he had in his life. And the events like at the School for the Blind, where they shaped him. They shaped him in what he was going to be. And then the stitches or the loops, they're like the different things. That's what we make out of our lives. That's what we make. That's what people see. It was awesome. It was awesome to be with him, to see him get to make this. But you can imagine his mother's surprise when she got a Mother's Day present that year. It was a scarf. And it was blue. That made everything. It made everything because we did it. We did it. Oh, we had so much fun. And we'll continue to have that much amount of fun because every day is a new day. And I love it. And I love you all for being here. I love what you've all done for me. I was just so appreciative of all that. And just remember, I am here to help serve you in any way that I can. I'm Brian with one eye. Now go be awesome. Thank you.